What's going on, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar going out for tomorrow and Wednesday, what's happening with news and data affecting Tesla, what you should be watching for on the charts, as the charts are showing some potential for Tesla to bounce, in my opinion. But before I break down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, for Tesla, we got this nice double bottom like structure after this attempts to break out from this falling wedge. We didn't get a clean breakout, in my opinion. We actually formed more of like a double bottom. Some people also call this a big George W that could be forming. But for this to play out, we have to see Tesla get a follow through move and see some more buyers try to defend it. So I do see potential for Tesla to bounce a bit, try to push up a little higher tomorrow. But for this to play out, we have to watch for a couple of things. Let me first talk about those couple of things before I break down the chart. So, first and foremost, we have some data coming out, of course. So, on Monday, March 18th, which is going to be tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m., we have the NAHB housing market report coming out, which is very minor. Not really expecting much from that. And then we also have at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time the 3-month and the 6-month bill auctions coming out. So we'll be watching to see more volatility at 11:30 a.m. On Tuesday, we have more data coming out involving housing and such. So we'll have to see how this goes. But nothing is too crazy for Monday and Tuesday compared to Wednesday when we have the biggest pieces of data. So I want to give you guys a heads up. For 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, we have 3 big things coming out. First and foremost, we have the Fed interest rate decision. There's a 98% chance they're going to keep rates the same, so it's not going to really affect the market as much. But at 2 p.m., at the same time, we have the FOMC economic projections coming out. We're going to find out what the Fed is projecting for interest rates 1 year out, 2 years out, and etc. So it's going to be very important. This will help us understand how much the Fed is going to likely cut, what are they expecting to do, and I'm expecting a very big move in the markets based off what we see right here. At 2:30 p.m., we also have the Fed press conference when Jerome Powell, the big guy, is going to be giving his speech. So make sure you watch for this. It's going to be very, very important. So a lot of big stuff is happening approaching FOMC on Wednesday. But for now, Monday is going to be kind of quiet with some very, very minor data. Regarding FOMC, like I said earlier, there's a 98% chance the Fed is going to keep rates the same for that time frame. That's important because this might not really affect the market as much, and this kind of shifts the focus to something very different. And that's going to be what the market's seeing even more forward. What is the economic projection telling us? That's going to be huge. We'll see what Jerome Powell says, and we'll see how things go. Besides that, here is a little screenshot of what earnings will likely look like for the week. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, you could. But basically, there's not really anything significant coming up for Monday. I'm not going to talk much about this on Monday. Tuesday, I might just briefly mention Xbong. Wednesday, maybe I'll mention a couple of these, not really much. And then for Thursday, we just have like Nike and FedEx, nothing too crazy. So I'll be very brief with those. And then Friday has pretty much nothing. And then after that, I don't really see myself talking as much about earnings for a couple of months. So earnings season is coming to a conclusion. We're going to be focusing on other things very soon, but this is all we're seeing. If you want to take a screenshot, you could. Going forward, I just want to mention that market volatility is still neutral as the VIX is just hovering around the 50 daily moving average, which is not really affecting the market too much. The put and call positioning is starting to go up as we're seeing more puts being bought, which could become a bit more bearish, but we haven't really broken past the zero point 0.8 area, so we can't say much yet. And besides this, other indicators are still at extremes, except for the fear and greed index overall. This was at extreme, now it's just at greed. We'll see if this shifts this way, if the market drops more or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. Couple pieces of news. Apple actually has a $490 million settlement over the CEO Tim Cook's his claims over the Chinese sales. So with that happening, this could be a decent piece of news. Maybe Apple pops a bit, but we'll see how it reacts to resistance. For the week, I also want to call out something else that's very important. We also happen to have basically Nvidia announcing more information about their GPUs at another big conference starting tomorrow. So we'll see what happens at this conference. As of right now, Nvidia is kind of uptrending just a little bit, but it's nothing too crazy. So we will see if Nvidia continues with this little move, and we'll see how it reacts to its key areas. But right now, expect something interesting for Nvidia. We'll have to see what is announced at the conference and how Nvidia reacts to it. So just be patient and we'll see how things go. As far as Tesla goes, we had another update for the FSD beta. This is very, very decent news because of the fact that they're making a lot of improvements, reducing codes, and then simultaneously trying to make these improvements in terms of how it like maintains paths. Its hesitancy has been reduced, not to mention other things like that. So I saw a lot of updates coming out about this. Elon Musk was hyping this up a lot, and hopefully this leads to more improvements for FSD, which is a very long-term bullish catalyst for Tesla. Another piece of news came out that Tesla is raising the Model Y prices in the U.S. and Europe, despite what's going on in China with the all the news about the competition, and they're going to be increasing the price of the Model Y in both the U.S. and Europe by a slight uptick, and this is going to be by about $1,000. I'm sorry, it's about 2,000 euros or 2,200 for the Model Y. I think for others out there, it's going to be by at least 1,000. So basically, they did cut prices by they did increase Model Y trims by $1,000, and others are saying they're going to do increases in like Europe by about 2,200 overall on March 22nd. So just to clarify that, there are price increases coming. We'll see how it goes for them. But with these increases, that's going to be very important for Tesla moving forward. Now, I also want to mention that as far as news goes, UBS is kind of neutral on Tesla. No changes have come from these analysts. The price price ratio is still down a bit. It's too low, in my opinion, to a point where it hasn't really gotten much of a rebound. So I think this might rebound just a little bit before we do either go lower or make any other moves like that. But it is due to rebound just a bit because I think that Tesla is in a position where it needs to do so and do the same thing. In terms of seasonality, I just want to mention that Mondays tend to be green about 53% of the time. So that's a good sign for Tesla. We also tend to see more seasonality around 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and also around the second to last hour of the day. March tends to be a decent month, and other things are looking decent for Tesla. So, with that being said, the latest pieces of data have come out that we've seen a lot of sell orders for Tesla and a couple of buys right here. We actually got a big buy order. So, we'll see what's going on here. The data is still kind of mixed. A lot of selling was going on for Tesla, but things could change nonetheless because of the fact that technicals are showing some life. Tesla looks like it might test its $168 4-hour 20 EMA, try to balance, but we need to see some confirmation of that to play out. Looking at the chart, we got a nice double bottom like structure. This is forming like a bullish wedge. So as long as there's no major bad news, okay, hear my words carefully. As long as there's no horrible piece of news that comes out, I think that Tesla could bounce and we could be making our way up towards at least 168 to 170, in my honest opinion. Now, why do I say this? Well, we have a nice rebound potential that's developing. On top of this, I'm seeing not just a double bottom, but a potential delayed breakout from this like falling wedge that's kind of failing. So it attempted to break out, came back down. Now it's trying to rebound again. So with that happening, it could try to make a follow through move. We have a nice double bottom, and plus the news coming out that Tesla's kind of increasing some prices is more good news for them as well. So from what I'm seeing, okay, the odds favor this thing trying to push up higher towards 168 to 170. And I'm going to be looking for a little rebound, in my opinion. If we're bullish, watch it break 165. If that breaks, we could get very close to 170. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 162. If we fail here, there's a risk of 160 and then 158 below that. My guts tells me it's going to be a double bottom and try to push higher. I think Tesla's due for that. So I do favor a nice bounce on Tesla based off the news and other factors like that. On the other hand, for SPY, I think we're going to rebound just a bit on SPY, but there's no guarantee it's going to hold because when you look at the charts, as time progresses, we are due to rebound it, but I think it's going to attempt to make its way up towards this like 511 area. But we're going to be watching this resistance and see, can we try to break above 511.7? If we break past this, we have this imbalance to fill at 513.5. If we fail at the yellow channel, we're just going to continue to downtrend. Now, what's good about SPY is 508 is a critical support at the 4-hour time frame. We have critical support, not the 4-hour, sorry, the daily time frame. That's our 20 EMA. We have a very important support right here at 508.39. We'll see if this holds or not. The chart is looking kind of weak, but before this thing falls lower, if it does, I think we rebound a bit first. SPY is going to likely test either 511 points, the 511s, or it goes all the way up to 513.5 if we break past that, this yellow trend line right here. Either we pop a bit and then drop, or we push a little bit higher and then we come back down. It's got to be one of those two most likely. We'll have to see how high it goes. As of right now, there's a bit of a downtrend. So if we do retest 511, we'll see if we reject here or if we break a little bit past it to get to 513 and then come back down lower. It's got to be one of those two most likely. All right, so watch resistance at 511.39. 7, 512.5, and 513.5. Watch support, which is very close to this 510 area. If we lose this, we're going to be looking for 508.5 and eventually 507.5. My guts tells me it's going to pop a bit, either reject here or it pops a little bit above this, gets closer to 513, and then we reject. It's got to be one of those two most likely. So watch and see how high it goes just to be safe. Onto the QQQ, Nvidia is going to affect this a lot, but this is going to depend on Nvidia's event. I still think the QQQ is going to try to get up to about 436, and we'll see if it rejects there or not. But look for a retest of 436 to see if we can try to break out higher. Watch 436 and then 438 as resistance. For support, if we end up failing around 435, we could come down lower to 432, then eventually 430. My guts tells me it's going to pop a bit and then eventually come back down. So look for a test of 436 and a move back down, and we could slowly continue to downtrend. The trend on the QQQ is bearish, is looking weaker than SPY, so look for a little pop and drop and just be very, very careful. For an Nvidia, in my opinion, is also it's slowly uptrending a bit, not looking the strongest though. It's kind of like range bound as well. If it continues to break past 885, we're going to be looking for a push for 900. If we fail at 885 again and come back below this, we could actually end up losing the support and making our way down to 872. And if we lose that, 862 is next. There's a slight uptrend, slowly uptrending just a little bit, but it's not that strong on Nvidia, so we'll have to see what happens from there, and we'll have to see how things go. But there is a slight uptrend, slowly trying to make its way higher and higher. We'll see what the event causes. This could be a little tricky to predict because it depends on what announcements are made about their GPUs. So just wait and see how the reaction is during the event, and that's going to dictate the QQQ. For Apple looks to me like it's going to try to push a little bit. We're at resistance at 172.5. We do break past this. Watch 174 is critical resistance. We did reject off here about 8 times over the last couple of weeks. So just be careful at 174. Could pop and drop or kind of like reject very close to that. If we come back down, watch 172.5 as support as well. If we lose this, I'll be watching 171.5 and 170.9. Look for a little pop and we'll see if we reject or not. And then we'll see what happens moving forward. With that being said, guys, I think Apple may pop a bit, watch resistance, and come back down. And that kind of favors my notion that SPY may do the same thing, kind of like pop and then drop back down. So we'll see how it goes. But I do see an attempt to rebound for Tesla, and I do think there is a lot of potential for the stock, if anything, for a temporary rebound. Right, a retest of like 168 to 170. We'll see what happens from there. So watch and see what Tesla does. Then we'll see if you get a rejection or not. This does not mean I'm a perma bull on Tesla. I'm just saying a temporary rebound is a possibility, and I do see a lot of technicals suggesting that. Moving forward to a couple more tickers, I just want to call out that as of right now, Rivian is not looking that great. It may actually just kind of continue to trade sideways. If it does try to push above 11.15, we could be looking for a retest of 11.5. It might try to push a little bit, but watch it very carefully, see if you reject off 11.5 or not. I think 11.15 is going to be tested. If you break this, we could push a little bit higher, so watch for that moving forward. For SoFi, on the 4-hour time frame, it's still looking a little bit weak. If we hold 7, we could try to rebound to 7.27. If we fail at 7, we're going to sink lower. I think it might try to rebound just a little bit. So watch for a test of 7.27 and maybe a rejection. ARM is looking bearish to me. However, it may retest 129, then eventually reject and come back down to 125. This is looking like it's struggling to hold above its 20 and 50 EMAs. So I think the chart looks bearish. May pop a bit, but eventually come back down. To turn bullish, you want to see it break 132. It hasn't done so yet. My prediction is a little pop and drop move, and I think that's looking very probable. For Super Micro, I think that Super Micro, in my opinion, is looking a little bit weaker too. Might retest 1100 till 1091, reject, and then come back down lower towards the lower 1000s. So look for a little pop and drop move. I do see that to be very, very probable. For Palantir, this looks bearish to me. It may pop a bit towards 23.75, then come down to 22.74. I see a pop and drop like move. For the IWM, I think it's going to pop a little bit. Watch for 203.6 to 204 to be retested. And if we reject off here, we're going to come back down. Let's look for a little pop and drop like move. For Microsoft, we're kind of range bound right now. Last time I checked, 417 is resistance, 413 is going to be our support. It's downtrending a bit, so there is a risk of it testing 413, maybe coming down to 410. Just be careful on Microsoft. It's looking a little bit weaker after this big bar that formed. So I do see some potential for downside, but watch support at 413 just to be safe. For a couple more, we also have the VIX. The VIX is very indecisive. I think Jerome Powell is going to be the biggest determiner if we get a big bounce or not. So I'm not too worried about this. It's very flat, very, very sideways, not really moving the way it used to. The dollar index is also approaching 103.52. We'll have to see if we reject off this or not. It could actually try to push here. We are forming a bullish wedge. So if it does break through this, this would be bearish for the stock market. So watch it. It's approaching resistance and we'll see if it breaks or not. But watch it at that zone. For Coinbase, we're basically approaching resistance at 242. If we break past this, going to be looking for a move towards 250 and 254. This chart is looking a bit more bullish, so I do see potential for it to push higher, so we'll see how it goes. For Google, the 4 hour is showing some weakness. I think it's going to retest 141. We'll see if it bounces off here or not. If we lose 141, 139.76 is coming. So I do see some potential for downside. Amazon's looking a little bit weaker to me because we're currently getting a nice rejection off the 50 EMA. And upon getting that rejection, we're actually seeing more sellers stepping in, leading this thing to dropping a bit more. So I think that there is a risk of this kind of like popping to 175, then making its way down towards 172. If 174 breaks, watch 172. I think it may pop and drop. That's the most likely possibility. Also for Meta, we look kind of bearish. We're kind of downtrending as well. Meta is going to retest 486.5. If we fail there, we're going to be sinking all the way down to 480, if not 476. If we break for 486.5, we could push higher towards 494 again. So I'm going to be watching to see how we react to that level. The chart looks bearish. However, we got a double top like structure. So this favors Meta coming back down to lower levels. With that being said, guys, the market may pop and drop. Some stocks are showing some life, so I think SPY may push a little bit before we get a rejection. Same thing with the QQQ. But on the other hand, stocks like Nvidia are kind of indecisive because we have some news that they're going to react to. Same thing with Apple. But that's it for those main ones. Tesla, on the other hand, is showing some life and potential. I think that this thing just sold off insanely hard without getting much of a rebound. Just look at the chart, right? We were at 183 trading sideways and we just sold off. That was like 1, 2, 3, 4 days in a row of just pure selling, 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 bad news after bad news after bad news. So this tells us that if Tesla gets bad news, it could fall again. I'd be watching 162 basically, 160 and 158 as supports. But I don't like to assume bad news will just come out. I think that the chart looks like it wants to bounce, and there's a very good chance that Tesla's going to try to do it. And we got some positive news about Tesla raising some prices, which shows some strength in the company, if anything. So I think the most likely possibility is the bad news. If we get any, it's not going to be too bad, and that Tesla will get a temporary rebound. That's the most likely possibility. I think Tesla will try to push to 168 to 170 as long as there's no major bad news. I think that's most likely going to happen. That's my prediction for tomorrow. Let's see Tesla get that rebound. I'm hoping we get it, and we'll see if the technicals do end up trumping other indicators out there. All right, have a great day, guys. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. I know the weekend is coming to an end, but we got some time left, so take care. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys very early in the morning tomorrow. Thank you, and peace out.